morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to take a look at the best cards to pull from Twilight Masquerade. Twilight Masquerade, of course, pre-releases are starting this weekend. That's frankly a pretty big deal, and that means we need to have a look at which of these cards you actually want to be pulling when you go and open your booster packs. I'm not trying to guarantee value or anything silly like that in this video. What I'm trying to do is tell you, in a rough kind of order, the cards you want to be pulling from the set. And we might as well start off with the big card from the set. From what we can see in Japan, and obviously things could change over here, they sometimes do, but from what we can see in Japan, the big card here is your special illustration rare Carmine. That is, as it stands at the moment, the big card. This is the one that is by far attracting the highest value. To try and put a vague kind of idea on it, we're talking somewhere in the region of double anything else. Over in Japan, it's all but double basically any other card on the list. It's a very big deal. Playability wise, it's fine. You discard your hand, draw 5. It's a bad Professor's Research, but of course you can use it on your first turn going first, which in that regard does make it preferential. You're going to play it as a one-of maybe in decks where you feel like you can search it out pretty easily. It's fine. That is not why it's getting on the list. It is getting on the list because it's got wonderful artwork and it's a popular character. That's it. There's your answer. Now that really is up at number 1 in a tier all of its own, but we then have a trio of cards which should be a little bit different. And one of those, well, I suppose we better start off with a presumptive number 2 card. It's Perrin. There's a similar thing going on with Perrin than there was with Carmine, honestly, because what we've got here is a supporter card of a popular character, and it looks beautiful. Now, one important thing to note here, we have, of course, got the double card, so to speak, going on with the Hisui and Growlithe. The pair of them, well, I mean, they make a pair, frankly. They are literally and figuratively a pair of cards. They are both done by Ghidorah. They are wonderful artworks. And if you spin them around, they do actually even match together and make one picture. It's absolutely stunning. I could see this ending up above Carmine. Now, right now, over in Japan, Carmine is number 1. Very clear and obvious number 1. No issue there. But I think over here, Perrin could end up jumping it. Also in this second tier, we've got the alternate art, the special illustration rare of Greninja. I don't know about this one, I'm going to be honest with you. The set, this came from Crimson Haze, right? And that's been legal in Japan for long enough to know this card isn't a stunning card playability-wise. And we know that because there's been a whole bunch of City Leagues, and we had Sapporo Champions League, and this just didn't really show up. So there's no question of, well, you know, maybe it's a good deck. Right now, it's not a good deck. That could, of course, change in the future, but we do have enough information right now to know it's not a particularly good deck. And I don't love the artwork. And look, it's got a lovely splash of colour. Maybe other people like it more than I do. I'm not a huge fan of this, I'm sorry, but it is on the list. And then rounding out this second tier, so to speak, Gold Buddy Poffin. And this is going to be a big one for the players, actually. This is going to be one where the players are far more excited about this than maybe other people, because Buddy Poffin is a great card. Lets you search for 270 HP or lower Pokemon. Really good, sees a bunch of play in a bunch of decks. And there isn't a cooler version of, well, there is a promo version of it, weirdly. But generally speaking, it's just got a stamp. There isn't really a great version like there are for so many of the Pokemon, etc. So if you want to bling out your deck and you're playing Buddy Poffin, and a lot of people are playing Buddy Poffin, and a bunch of those are going to want to bling out their deck, this is going to be the one you go for, and therefore this is going to end up being a pretty gosh darn good one. So that's really your tier 2 of cards as it looks at the moment. Your Perrin, your Greninja, your Buddy Poffin. And then after that, there are still some other tiers. We've got a pair of special illustration rares that are basically, well, like the second tier of special illustration rares, not including Carmine. And we've got a pair of these, it's Kieran and Lana. And like so many of these cards, it's not necessarily a playability thing. Although I should say, Carmine is seeing play right now as a one-of. Kieran is also finding its way into decks. I am digging through, to put it bluntly, I'm digging through as many deck lists as I can find right now. And Kieran is popping up in a bunch of them. Generally tends to be as kind of a one-of, but it's still absolutely appearing in the deck. And what we've got from Kieran is a decently playable card. It's one where you get to do one of two things. You either switch your active, or you let your Pokemon do an extra 30 damage to EXs and Vs for the rest of the turn. It's a good card, it sees a bunch of play, it's very nice. And artwork-wise, I'll take this over Carmine, frankly. I will absolutely take this over Carmine. I think this is cooler. I think it's just a better card. I think it's more playable, and I think it's got better artwork. I understand not everybody's going to agree with me, and that's absolutely fine. But honestly, I think it's better. And it is my video. So I thought I'd let you know what I feel. As for Lana, Lana's great. I love the artwork on Lana. I think the artwork on Lana is stunning. But I also think that it's not seeing a huge amount of play because it's not. Basically, you get yourself 3 basic energy or non-rule box Pokemon and whack them in your hand. It's decent recovery and it goes to your hand, which is nice. It's fine. But I'm not seeing it pop up in a bunch of deck lists. Also, I should let you know, I'm taking English scans where we've got them, and where we don't have them, I'm obviously having to go for Japanese scans. I'm sure you guys figured that out by now, but just in case you haven't. So, okay, that's a nice little kind of tier 3, so to speak. We've then got the good illustration rare Pokemon. And there are some decent illustration rare Pokemon you should be looking for, not least of which is Blood Moon Ursaluna. Now, of the 3 I'm going to show you here, Blood Moon Ursaluna is very much the best of them. I've told you I'm digging through a lot of deck lists at the moment, and this keeps popping up as a one-off. It's because it's got an attack that does 240 damage, and it looks really expensive, and in a way it is. However, it's also got an ability that reduces the cost by 1 for each prize card your opponent has taken, which actually brings the cost down, honestly, pretty gosh darn quickly, and ends up being really very, very good, really very, very quick. It's another one of those cards that has seen a lot of play, and it's one of those, it just keeps popping up in deck list after deck list after deck list. So, yeah, it's pretty good, honestly. Pretty gosh darn good. And it's got Munchlax on the art, so, you know, that's always a nice thing. We've also got Teal Mask Ogerpon. This is proven to be a decent card over in Japan. Obviously, we've got all of these mask Pokemon. Well, we got 4 different mask versions of Ogerpon, I should say. And they all get a special illustration rare. But all the special illustration rares are not created equal. This is the number 1, and it's partly because it's the main one, and it's partly because it's kind of playable. It's got an ability that lets you attach a grass energy during your turn, bearing in mind it's a basic Pokemon, and then draw a card. It's actually pairing really nicely. It's slotting in to the Raging Bolt Sandy Shocks deck at the moment. And I know that's not like the best deck in the format. Hasn't been up to now. Doesn't look like it's going to be in the super near future. But it is a viable deck which is doing well here and there. And this is going to slot into it very nicely. Gives you a draw engine while also getting extra energy on the board, and Raging Bolt discards energy, does 70 for each one discarded. So more energy plus drawing cards, clearly a very good thing. Awkward for the energy cost, with it being grass, but also totally worth it. The other one that is really getting up there is your Wellspring Mask Ogerpon. And that's because it's a water one, and it basically fits really super neatly into Bascalibur decks. And it fits really super neatly into Lugia decks. It does basically 100 to the active, 120 to the bench, just so long as you put free energy back into the deck. But both Bascalibur and Lugia decks are absolutely fine to get the energy back out again and reattached. So, yeah, you can kind of spam the attack and do quite a lot of damage. This is very much a playability thing. The reason why this one is up on the list is because it's a very playable card, and like I say, players do want the fancy versions of the cards. Now, I haven't mentioned full arts yet, so nice and quickly, there are some full arts that do need to be mentioned. Kieran and Carmine, they obviously make a very nice pair. No, the full arts are not going to be as expensive or sought after as the special illustration rares, but they're absolutely still going to be sought after. And then Perrin and Lana. Again, they're another pair. They're not such quite as good a pair. Like, Kieran and Carmine are a proper job. They are the pair from the Teal Mask DLC. Perrin and Lana are really just the pair that came around in Crimson Haze. But still, nice pair of full arts. That's quite cool. And then you've also got Dragapult full art. And while we're here, regular Dragapult. Looking at Mask of Change right now, the Japanese set, the only full art in that set, which is more expensive than regular Dragapult, is full art Dragapult. And actually, if I go and have a look at Crimson Haze, there are no full arts. Okay, supporter cards. There are a couple of full art supporters, obviously. I mean, in terms of full art Pokemon, none of them get above regular Dragapult. Dragapult is so hyped and so good right now, and I've been telling you about this for the past week, how good Dragapult is. I've done several videos where I've mentioned it, and I've done a whole video just about how great it is. Should be linked in the description. There are no full art Pokemon right now that are going to be in Twilight Masquerade that you want to pull more, or at least should, than you want to pull regular Dragapult. The only full art in the set, the only full art Pokemon at least, that you want to pull more than regular Dragapult is obviously full art Dragapult. This is a very big deal. When you're at your pre-release, when you're opening your boxes, etc., don't undervalue regular Dragapult. There is so much hype with that deck right now that it's a regular EX that is commanding above full art prices. You have been warned. Right, there we go. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of the cards you're looking for. Tell me what your chase cards are. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Dingus Flingus, who's been a supporter of ours for a little while now and seems to be a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourself till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.